I'm Professor Raymond Parsons from the Northwest University Business School, and today I'll be interviewing Professor Wilma Viviers, who is the World Trade Organization Chair and Research Professor at Northwest University. Welcome, Wilma, and thank you very much for speaking to us today in this series of African bonbon interviews which the Business School is organizing. I know that you've been responsible for the development of a very important tool for exporters called the Trade Decision Support Model. I would like to ask you how this was developed, how useful is it, and what potential has it to unlock exports in many parts of the world, which has been your experience so far?
Thank you very much, Prof Raymond, for the opportunity to speak about my research over the last 20 years. I'm really very excited about the TRADE-DSM that we have developed. And it is, just as the name says, it is a decision support model to help exporters in particular, but also governments in their decision making on where to take their international business. To explain it to you, if you were an exporter, and you would like to, you have excess capacity and you would like to go internationally with your products, or you are, for instance, the Department of Trade and Industry, and you would like to assist exporters in their endeavors for international market expansion, you would need a lot of information to make that decision. The TRADE-DSM, this decision tool, is really making that information available by the click of a button. But this didn't come overnight. This was a long process, and this tool collates information and data from officially available sources all over the world, but it contains millions and millions, even billions of data points. So if you would have to make that decision, you would have to know where is the demand for my product. You would know what tariffs you would encounter in those countries. You would have to know who is your competition, how big is your competition, so what is the market concentration for your product, and all of this would really take you a lot of time to do this. So what we have done, we have taken the official data sets that are available on Trade for 5,300 products to 180 countries. And we've taken all of this information on trade data flows, on tariffs, on market concentration, on market access, for instance, the logistics and the transport, and we run this model through a filtering process. So, and then we narrow down the possibilities of where to go, and in the end, we can provide exporters and export promotion organization with a very detailed list, but a very narrow list of where opportunities in the world are.
Well, I think that's a wonderful tool for exporters. And I'm wondering, with all the developments in Africa, both economic and political, and especially the emergence of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, what makes this tool especially valuable to identify and exploit export opportunities in Africa?
Yes, Raymond, it is really exciting times for our continent. The African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement has been signed and it has been implemented starting the 1st of January 2021. It is the biggest single free trade area in the world since the start of the WTO in 1995. It's a population of 1.3 billion people, 54 countries, with huge opportunities. And everybody, business people, policy makers are very excited about this agreement. The big challenge actually in Africa is that the intra-Africa trade, so the trade between countries in Africa, is very small. Only 16% of Africa's trade with the world is within itself, within the borders of in the continent. And to increase that is one of the big aims of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Now, the work that we have been doing with the TRADE-DSM is very useful in the sense that it identifies opportunities bilaterally, for instance, in a project that we're doing between South Africa and Tunisia, but for any country that we can develop this decision support model and construct all the data sets and data files and do the analyses, we can assist government and policymakers as well as business in order to where those opportunities are.
Well, now, Prof Wilma, if we could just narrow it down, because we want to unlock Africa's potential on a much bigger scale using your particular mechanism. You've mentioned one country, but I know you've been involved in some other African countries where already the decision support model has proved to be useful. Could you tell us which countries those are?
Yes, of course we started with South Africa, and that took a long while. And we've, apart from the government, the national decision support model for South Africa, we also assisted provinces. So many of the provinces are using the decision support model for their Africa strategy. The Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal export strategy to Africa has been launched last week, where the DSM was their tool in order to determine which products they are going to focus on, which companies they are going to help and assist where there are opportunities in Africa. But that is from the South African side. We have done Cameroon, most recently Cameroon. We've been asked by the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa to assist the Department of Trade and Industry in Cameroon with their industrialization plan for the African, for in the context of the African Continental Free Trade Area. We've just finished that, and that was done with Martin Cameron, who is the Managing Director of the spin-out company Trade Advisory, which we have created in 2016 to assist with the rollout of the decision support model because of the demand that has just been growing so much for the decision support model. We've also done the decision support model for Rwanda. That was the first one that we've done by looking at landlocked countries. And that was a huge refinement of the methodology because in the past, and most other models look at the distance between countries by looking at the physical as the crow flies, the geodesic distance. But we are now, since we've done the Rwanda country DSM, we have refined the methodology in such a way that we are now looking at how consignments are physically being moved from one country to the other. And that opened up a new world for us because it really showed us that it's really much different from as the crow flies. For instance, in the Cameroon case, just as an example, it takes the same time to take a consignment from Cameroon to Mozambique as it would have taken it to Australia and to China, just because of the routings of the transport companies.
Now, I think, Wilma, if one had to ask you, if I was a practical business person sitting here, in a nutshell, what value would the decision support model add to my export activities, in a nutshell?
Well, Raymond, in the first place, it is time efficient, it is cost effective, and it takes the guesswork out of your decision making. You don't have to take all the time to look at all the data. You don't necessarily have the ability to do it, but you have to probably have someone do it for you. And you don't have to rely on anecdotal evidence. We've seen it with companies that we have assisted. They had their strategy all in place, but the moment that we could show them why we have chosen, or why certain countries have come up, narrowed down in terms of their first options, it made such a difference, and people were, and we are assisting many companies in their decision making, and as I said, taking the guesswork out of their decision making.
Well, Wilma, I think you've identified a very valuable tool for exporters to expand trade in Africa especially intra-Africa trade, as you've mentioned, and I'm hoping that many more business people and governments will access what you have to offer through this particular decision support module. So I'm asking you, what are the contact details? Where can they rush to get hold of you and find out more of how your mechanism can assist them in their business activities in Africa?
Thank you, Prof. Raymond. Of course, they can contact me on my cell phone anytime, my email, and I'm sure it will be available on the screen. I'm available if people would like to have more detail. There's also a website with a YouTube, which I also can give you the link to. So if people are interested, or if governments are interested, they can contact me. And with the Trade Advisory Spin-out Company, we are looking forward to also make our contribution in identifying unusual suspects for increasing intra-Africa trade.
Thank you very much, Wilma. Very helpful and very useful indeed for our potential in Africa.
Thank you.